Hello everyone. This video is a review of Blackboard for Social Work 206. So what I will be doing is covering what's available to you in Blackboard for your course, to include where you will be able to upload and find things within Blackboard. For first-time users of Blackboard, this will be completely helpful for you. So what I want to do is start off by going over what's expected of you as you navigate Blackboard. So on the Getting Started page, which is right here, you'll see that you have your course syllabus for the course, to include your course outline, which is Social Work 206. So when you click on these links, you will have access to those particular courses. All of this is on the Getting Started page, mind you. As you arrow down, you'll see that I have my contact information where you can email me or call me. I recommend that students call me because sometimes when they send me emails, it's so broad and it's kind of hard for me to actually understand what they are completely asking. So if you get a chance to call me and you're by your computer, that would be very helpful. If not, go ahead and email me and we'll try to solve the problem through email. So here's my contact number. My office number is area code 843-745-1100. My cell number is 843-345-2226. The good thing is that this term I am teaching two sections of 206. So if you call me and you leave me your name, just tell me if you're in section 1 or section 2. That way I'll know what email where to go to actually locate you. My email address is rdickerson@limestone.edu. This is just a welcome letter that I basically put in all of my courses that talks a little bit about the course and how long I've been doing this with Limestone. Now, earlier in some of the other videos, I talk a lot about the discussion. And so I want to cover this a little bit more in detail. The example discussion, and you can see the initial discussion question is posted here, where they're asking about a relationship. And this person's initial response, as you see, this person says, according to the NSW Code of Ethics of 1996. So that's what I mean when I talk about reference your posts. This person basically started out by giving me a reference of what they're talking about. And you can see they talked about the Code of Ethics, and she went a little step further and talked a little about what section in the Code of Ethics. So you can see again under section 1.09 on sexual relationship, the Code of Ethics, 1996. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about supporting your reference, supporting your post with a peer review article or something from your textbook. This person went one step further and gave me another basically reference. Now, what she did also is gave me a page number, and the reason she gave me that page number is because you can see that she has a direct quote here in this post. So whenever you have a direct post, according to APA, you're required to provide a page number. That way the instructor or whoever's reading the post can go back and find that particular response if needed. So this is a perfect example of what your discussion, your initial discussion post should look like. If you were to just talk about relationships and how individuals in social work should not have a relationship, well, that's an assumption. By providing a reference, a peer review article, or a textbook, you're telling me that this is why I believe this. And this is what I'm talking about when I say support your discussions with reference. Normally in the course, students usually do their initial response and support it, but they fail to support their response to their peers. I'm asking you in this course to do all two. In other words, I need you to support your initial discussion response, and then you're going to support your response to your peers. Okay, as we go further, you can see responses. So you see this person start out high and the name of the person you're responding to. Instead of just responding to a person, you want to identify who you're responding to. So if you have questions about a particular response, I can go back and say your response to so-and-so failed to reference a supported article or something from the text. So what this person did is identify who they're responding to. And you can see they start out by saying, I agree with your response that this is unethical. Well, most of the time, students usually say, I agree with your response. I did not know that that was true. And they just left it up for an assumption. Now, what this person said, I agree. And then they went one step further and told me why they agreed. And what they said, that it was a violation of section 1.6 conflict of interest, also of the code of ethics. Now, up top in the initial response, it talks about sexual relationship. As you go to the response, now they're talking about conflict of interest. So if you have a relationship with a client, it's also a violation of the code of ethics under conflict of interest. So this is an example of another way to actually provide a supportive response to a peer. If you fail to support your response to your peers, I will deduct points. Most of the time students say, you're going to take a whole 5 points for failing to respond to one individual and supporting it. Well, technically, if you write something and you're using something from a cited response and you fail to cite that response, well, that's plagiarism, which means that the whole discussion should be in the zero because you plagiarized. So just be mindful of that. Okay, so that was one response to one peer. The second response, you see that this person also said hi and named the person. And they said, I agree, but I think sometimes it can be confusing. Okay, and so this person talks about the South Carolina Code of Ethics. So they are referencing something from the South Carolina Code of Ethics. So what they're saying is that basically the Code of Ethics does say one thing, but the South Carolina Code of Ethics is not as strict as it's required, that you can wait 3 years after a relationship ends. Now, I'm going to tell you right now up front, this second response is wrong. Even though South Carolina Code of Ethics say you can wait 3 years, this person is citing something that's saying that they can have a relationship after 3 years. You cannot, according to the Code of Ethics, have a relationship with a client that you've been working with, okay? So even though the Code of Ethics says that, what this person failed to do is cite the South Carolina Code of Ethics and when it was published. So that means that it could have been a change in the reference that this person is responding to. And this is why I ask students in my courses, and it's just not 206, it's all of my courses that I teach. I try to prepare students to start writing, being supportive of what they're saying, so when they get into the master's program, this would carry on into the master's program. So if you're saying, well, other instructors don't request this of me, well, that's their course, and they can choose to do that. But for this particular course, if you're in this particular course, I am requesting that you not only support your response, but the response to 2 of your peers. I hope that was helpful. Now I'm going to go ahead further down, and I'm going to show you another example of a sample discussion with a peer response. And so what you would do is click on the sample discussion here, and Once you clicked on it, you're going to open up the sample discussion. And this is another one, okay? So this person said week 1, discussion 1. And she wrote basically some information about the question. And see, she referenced it. Now, she not only referenced in the body of the text, but this person also referenced at the below her writing to show that this is where I got this response from. As you look further down, the response to one of the peers, okay, this person said they agreed and why they agreed. And here again, they showed the reference at the bottom of their post. It doesn't matter to me which way you actually, which method you actually use. I'm comfortable with it. If you want to put the reference after your discussion, I'm comfortable with it. If I know you got it from this place, I can go back and find it if need be. If you reference in the body of the text, that tells me that, this is where I'm getting it from. A good writer would normally provide in the body of the text to include the reference at the reference page. So when you're writing a paper in APA format, you will have references in the body of your paragraphs, and you will have a reference page at the end that tells me exactly what reference you got it from. So just be mindful. I'm asking all students to actually support their response and the response to their peers with a peer review article or a textbook example of where you got that particular information from. So in other words, I'm asking you to use evidence-based practice. Okay, this next section basically is the discussion rubrics. And here again, you can see thoughtfulness of the response. And so they're looking at how in-depth you were. They're also looking at your type of response. So if you said, I agree with what you said, and I really didn't know that, it was very useful. Well, that's not a supportive response. In other words, why do you agree with it? And why was it useful to you? Okay, when you look at further up, it talks about knowledge of subject and research area. So you can have points taken off from that. And then you have the APA. So are you using APA format when you reference? Are you citing the reference correctly? And then I look at spelling and grammar error. So this is the rubrics that I use for your discussion posts. Below this is a sample of a final research paper. So when you click on either one of these links, it's going to provide you with a sample copy of a research paper for this particular course. Now here again, I'm going to remind you, just because I have these samples in here, it doesn't mean that it's a completely A paper, because sometimes students fail to reference in the body of their text. Sometimes students have grammatical errors. It's a number of things that could be wrong with this particular paper. What I want you to get from this is the formatting style of this particular paper, utilizing APA writing style to include how they reference in the body of the text and on the reference page. Sometimes students write a paper and I ask for 5 to 7 pages. So if you write 7 pages in your paper, that does not mean that you count the cover page and the reference page or the abstract page. Now, in this particular course, it doesn't call for an abstract, but all APA format style papers should have a cover page and a reference page. So if you write a total of 5 pages, and if I'm counting the cover page and the reference page, I should have a total of 7 pages. So be mindful of that. You do not count the cover page and the reference page with your paper. So just know that you have to do 5 to 7 pages. If you do 5 pages, you should have a total of 7 pages. If you do 7 pages, then you should have a total of 9 pages, counting the reference and the cover page. So take some time out. what I usually tell students to save these papers so they can actually look at the formatting. Go back to it so they can look at how it's formatted. The next section below that is where you have a pre-test and post-test. Normally you take the pre-test within the first 2 weeks. Again, for social work majors, this is a requirement for you all because this is what determines whether we continue to allow students to go to the master's program utilizing advanced standing. In other words, this is a measurement component for the advanced standing that we use. So the pre-test and the post-test. The pre-test, if you take it, it's just a measurement that we use in the beginning, but after you finish the course and you take the post-test, you'll find that your score is usually higher. So what I usually tell students, when you take this pre-test, I will take it and copy it and print it. So when you get ready to take the post-test, you can look at answering these questions later on for the post-test and have an answer for you. The section below that is the APA writing style handout. These are just some example tips that I provide to students. I also provide students with a template. Some students usually tell me, well, I use Microsoft Office for my APA format. For students who do that, they must have an understanding of APA because sometimes the software does not cite references correctly. Sometimes they cite an MLA versus APA. And so you might want to at least download the template. And as you download the template, don't start writing your paper because there's some information in the template that tells you what an abstract is for and what the instructions for the introduction should look like. You need to delete that where you just have the blank shell for APA template. So under the APA writing style handout, I provided you with a lot of information. I provided you with some library resources so that it'll help you with this particular course in writing your paper. As we move further down the Getting Started page, you'll find that there is the Limestone online course policy link that's provided for you. Any issues with the course as far as if you think something needed to be updated, there's a contact information that's there for you that this is the course coordinator for this particular course that can help you. Below that, you have a new way of taking the exam, which is our proctorial guide. So that means that I have put some proctorial guidelines within this particular course. In other words, when you get ready to take your exam, you can't stare off and look at some other document. If you do, your exam is going to shut off. Also, you cannot search other links, web links. If you do, your course is going to shut off. So just be mindful. You want to definitely take a look at proctorial and the guides for students. You want to read that fully so when you get ready to take the exam. Some of you may have already took proctorial exam before. So if you have, that's great. Then you have faculty and course coordinators guide, basically, but you won't be able to see that because it's hidden from you. But just know that it's there. Now, everything that I went over on this section is on the Getting Started page. So I always tell students, look at the Getting Started page first, because I usually put in my course a lot of information that will help students with the course. As we go further on the Blackboard, you'll see that I have a link to the syllabus. Well, you don't have to do that because I already provided for you on the Getting Started page. Then you have the notification section where you have announcements. Normally when I need to submit an announcement, I will submit an announcement to students letting them know that the midterm exam is going to open up on so-and-so date, so-and-so time frame. I usually do an announcement letting you know that I've graded a section so that you can go back and check your grade to see what you have. So I usually try to keep students informed utilizing announcements. I put announcements about when we get to the end about, you needing to complete the post-test, to include the course evaluations. So normally I send an announcement out, so when you open up Blackboard, you'll get a alert about the announcement ahead of time. The course calendar is another thing that can be utilized, and it'll have a list of all the discussions, any assignments that need to be done under the calendar. I usually tell students don't utilize the calendar as much or depend on the calendar as much, because sometimes the calendar doesn't alert you to where things are, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we move further down Blackboard, where you can get an understanding. Blackboard Messages is another tool that I use to let students know that there's something that's needed. Sometimes I provide additional study guide materials. So that will be in your messenger. Also, you have this access too, where I go back and monitor to see if you sent me any messages. Again, remember, I have 30 individuals in section 1 of Social Work 206. So that's a lot of students. And then I have a certain number of students in section 2. So I have well over 40 students in this particular course taking it at any particular time. So when you email me, just know that this is not the only course. So you can say, hi, I'm in your 206 section 2, or I'm in your 206 section 1. But also give me your name. If you call me, also make sure that you tell me your name and what section you're in, so I'll know what I need to address, because I have 2 different grade books that I'm going to be working out of. My grades, of course, everybody's familiar with my grades. That's where you can go and check your grades and see where you are thus far. Just remember, when you look at your grade book, it does not calculate coursework that's not completed. It only calculates work that's completed. So if you have, say, a 90 when you got to the end of this course, and you haven't submitted your paper, your research paper, and I put a 0 there, you'll find that that 90 will drop once I put a 0 there if you fail to submit that assignment. So just be mindful. Don't look at gradebook and say, oh, I can forget about doing this particular page. Okay, as we move further down, again, I provided you with some information about the syllabus, the calendar, and what have you. So as we look at Blackboard, move further down, where we had to migrate, you can see under course requirement, these are things that you need to do. So all of your work is going to be under course requirements. So I always tell students to monitor the course requirements and also monitor the course outline. And we'll talk about the outline as we get further down. So when you get ready to submit your paper, you will click on APA paper. That's where you're going to submit your final paper. And you'll see that it has the requirements for the paper. You'll see what you should be writing on. So these should be your header. In your paper, you should have a heading saying introduction. You should also have a heading that says who and respond to the questions under that. And you should have a conclusion. So your paper should have 3 different headings. And I also provide you with a rubrics to your paper. Now, some students say, well, when is my paper due? So if you click on your research paper, well, I will go to the edit just to show you when your paper is due. So you'll find that for this assignment, it has the instructions for the paper, to include where you need to upload your paper, and your paper is due on August 18th. Now, we talked about that in the syllabi, when things were due, when you look at certain assignments. So your research paper is due August 18th. Now, you probably won't be able to see that. The only thing you will be seeing is where it says browse my computer, and that's where you're going to upload your paper. But this assignment will be open up to you on the 11th of August, and you have until the 18th to submit it. So you will not have access to this paper until the 11th of August, and then you have until the 18th to submit it. Okay, so let's go back up and take a look at some of the course requirements again. So I already covered the paper. So you have discussions. So when you click on discussions in Blackboard, you're going to have a list of your discussions. Now, I'm showing you all of the discussion, but you won't be able to see all of them because it's only going to show you your discussion week by week. And I'll show you that when we get into the course outline. So the first week, you should be seeing your introductory discussion where you're going to post a little bit about yourself, and you should be seeing Unit 1, which means that this section opens up on, you should have access to this on 30 June through 7 July, which is a Sunday, which means on Sunday at 11:59, you will no longer have access to these two discussions. So it's important that you complete your assignment in a timely manner. Once again, your two assignments in the discussion sections are your introduction, where you're going to post a response. And in the introduction, you do not have to reference this or your response to your peers, because what it does basically is you're telling me who you are, a little bit about yourself. Now, in the discussion 1, that's basically talking about global gag rule. So in your textbook, it's a section that covers that. So that means that you have to read that information and respond to this discussion. And you have to support this discussion. So it's automatic that this information is already in your text. So if you write a response on it, you're going to support it with your text. So again, during week 1, these are the only two things you're going to see in the discussion. Week 2, you're going to have a discussion, and you'll be responding to that. Now, week 2 will open up at 11:59 on July 7th. So as discussion 1 closes, discussion 2 opens. So you'll only have access to that discussion. So you'll have from Sunday to Sunday to actually do that. Well, really, it's not Sunday, from Monday to Sunday to actually complete that. As we talked about it earlier in the earlier videos, we said that discussion posts, your initial response is due on Thursday, and the response to your peers is due on Sunday. So just know that each week you're going to have a discussion that's going to open up to you. And so week 4, you're going to have a discussion. Week 5, you're going to have another discussion. Week 6, you're going to have a discussion. And then week 7, you're going to have a discussion. And week 8, you will not have any discussions. So just be mindful, you already have 8 discussions with your introduction, but you only have 7 discussion questions that you have to respond to. As one discussion open and close, another one will open. So you will not see all of these as we're looking at it now all at once. You will only see one discussion per week. So as we go back up to Blackboard, you'll see that you have textbook and mind tap. And so as I told you earlier, this course comes with a textbook and mind tap information. I'm not requiring that you do any of the mind tap in this course because I provided you with a discussion question that you will have to, well, not a discussion question, I'm sorry. I provided you with quizzes for each chapter. So remember, we said that the first quiz covers chapters 1 through 5, and the second was 6 through 8, and then the third quiz was chapter 9 only. And from 1 through 9, it's going to cover your midterm. And from 10 to 18, chapter 10 to chapter 18 is going to cover your final exam. So the mind tap is not there yet, but as you go back into the getting started page, when you get ready to start the course, you will see a link says ebook, and that's going to give you access to your book. Right now, it's not in the course because I haven't gotten Gaffney to load it and embed it into the course yet, but that's for coming before the course starts. So just know you will have access to that. So the next link is talking about tests and quizzes. And so we talked about all that. So when you click on this link, again, there are only going to be certain things open to you at a certain time. The good thing about this particular window is that you have your post and your pre-test. So when you take the pre-test, within the first 2 weeks, you'll have your questions printed out, hopefully, so you can find the answers to it, because you won't see what's right and what's wrong. I will know. In other words, I'll know whether you receive 1 through 10 or whatever. But just know that when you do the post test, you want to go back and try to answer those questions utilizing the textbook. So in this section, when you click on tests and quizzes, you will be able to see quiz chapter 1 through 5, quiz chapters 6 through 8, and quiz chapter 9. Now remember, I told you in the beginning that your quiz 9 will actually close on the 19th at 11:59. No, correction, on the 28th of July, because this is the midterm. So on the 28th, you will no longer have access to the quizzes because you're getting ready to take the exam. I do not leave quizzes open during the time when people are required to do the exam. So just note, from 30 June to 28 July, you'll have access to the quizzes. And you have 3 opportunities to take each one of these quizzes. So quiz 1 through 5, you have 3 chances to take it, 3 attempts. Quizzes 6 through 8, you have 3 attempts. Quiz 9, you have 3 attempts. The only thing about the quizzes for this particular midterm exam is that it will shut down and you will no longer have access on the 28th, because you will be taking your final exam on the 29th through August 4th. Okay, as you look at that, we'll go back to the midterm. So on the 29th of July, you will have access at 11:59. Your midterm exam will open up. So in other words, you will not see this until July 29th after 11:59. So July 30th, that's one that will definitely be available for you to take your exam. And you have from that time frame through 4 August at 11:59 to complete that exam. So just make sure that you take this exam. Normally I usually put an announcement in letting students know that the exam is open, but it's your responsibility to do each one of the quizzes as a form of a study guide to prepare you for the exam. Again, I must let you know that your quizzes does not count for your final grade. So the quizzes is not a part of your final grade for the courses. So after you take your midterm exam, you'll find that your quiz for the final exam will open up. So you will not have to worry about quizzes 1 through 9 again, because you won't see that again. That's only covered for the midterm. So quizzes 10 through 18 is going to cover your final. And for each one of your exam, you have 90 minutes to actually complete it. For your quizzes, I also allow you 90 minutes, but you only have 3 attempts. So here you have chapter quiz 10 through 12 that's going to be available to you. It opens up on July 28th at 11:59, and so you can actually take that to prepare you for your final. That won't prepare you for your midterm, it'll prepare you for your final. So you do not need to know anything that you did in chapters 1 through 9. Again, as you go further down, you'll see quiz chapters 13 through 15. And again, it's only a part of a study guide. It's not going to count for credit towards your final grade. So please do not send me an email saying I haven't graded your quizzes, because I won't grade that. It grades itself automatically, and it does not count as a part of your final grade. So you will have basically quizzes from chapter 13 through chapter 18 to complete, and then you'll do your final exam. Now, your final exam, basically, this will be available to you on 19 August. Again, remember I told you that that this is the only time that you will have to do no correction. This is when your final exam will open up to you and you'll have access, and that you will be able to take your final exam. So it'll be from the 19th to the 23rd where you're going to be taking your exam. It opens up on the 19th at 11:59 and it closes August 23rd. So you will not see anything from chapters 10 through 18 until after you completed your midterm exam. I recommend that all students click on this link and go through the process, because Blackboard requires that you open up your proctorio and basically be able to allow you to see if you have access to the test proctor or not. So this is just information about the study guide for the exams and basically what you need to do to prepare you for the midterm and final. So it's very important that you do the quizzes. As I told you earlier, I would print out a copy of the questions and I will try to answer it later on utilizing the textbooks or what have you. And so that would be a visual study guide that you can use. And also, as you're taking the quizzes, it'll kind of prepare you for what to expect when you get ready to take the final exam. So as we move back up on Blackboard, and we'll take a look at course outline. So when you click on course outline, I always tell students, look at the course requirements, look at the course outlines. So the course outline is set up by units, and in the syllabus I was talking about week 1, unit 1. So they're the same. Just know that you have 8 weeks and you have 8 units. So when you click on unit 1 under course outline, you'll see that it tells you everything that you need to do during the first week, which starts on the 1st of July and it closes on 7th July. So in other words, just be mindful that it lists everything you need to do it under Unit 1. You see what it says? You need to do an introductory, introducing yourself. You need to review the syllabus / assignments, review the library resources / Blackboard. Well, I provided those things for you on the Getting Started page. You need to read chapters 1 and 2. Again, if you have ebook, I told you when you utilize ebook, it can actually read the chapters for you and you can listen and take notes of things that you want to utilize. So remember, I told you in the beginning under discussions, you have 2 things you're going to do. You're going to do an introductory and then you have your initial discussion. So basically, if you click on unit discussion, it'll tell you what the discussion you have. When you click on introduction, it'll tell you what you're going to be doing. So this first discussion basically is going to talk about gag rule. Now, you see that it's nothing for you to input there. So what you have to do is go back up on Blackboard to the discussion section, and that's where you're going to upload your discussion. So it talks about discussion, so just letting you know you have a discussion that needs to be done under Unit 1. So what you're going to do is click on discussions to actually do that discussion. That's where you're going to find everything for that first week. You won't see Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, Unit 5, Unit 6, or Unit 7. You're only going to see the introductory and discussion 1 during the first week. So again, you're going to look at Unit 1 and it's going to tell you everything you're going to do. When you click on Unit 2, that's going to be your second week. That's going to show you what's due. So when you click on Unit 2, it's going to tell you that you need to read chapters 3 and 4 and 5. You need to take the quiz, chapters 1 through 5. You need to also do the discussion board question. And then you need to submit a paper topic assignment. So here goes the link for your paper topic assignment. So when you click on that link, it's going to tell you when that assignment is due and how much points you're going to get, and you're just going to upload it. Students sometimes try to copy and paste things in. This is where you're going to write your paper in Word, and you're going to upload that document to me. So under Unit 2, that you have your paper topic, and all that is you're going to look at each one of the chapters, and you're going to find something you want to write in from one of the chapters. As I said earlier, if you're trying to deviate from that, I recommend that you contact me by phone first, and let's discuss what you're trying to do, because it may not relate to the assignment. I just got through teaching this course last term, and I had a student wanted to write about homelessness. Well, yes, that's an at-risk population, but that has nothing to do with people of color. That has nothing to do with human sexuality. So when you think about this particular paper, if you find homeless in a chapter covering homelessness, then it's okay to do that because it's there. So you want to make sure that you're covering one of the chapters, and you have from chapter 1 to chapter 18 to consider writing on. You might want to write on same-sex marriage, where your textbook talks about same-sex marriage. You might want to write on cohabitation. Here again, your textbook talks about it. So when you look at Unit 2, you have a discussion. And I told you before, when you get ready to post your discussion, you go to the discussion section. But for this particular course, you have to submit your paper topic under this window because it's linked to gradebook. So as you look at Unit 3, Unit 3 basically telling you everything you need to do. So you can see that you need to read chapters 6, 7, and 8. You have a quiz from chapters 6 and 8 that you need to complete, and then you have a discussion board question. So you would go to discussion and do your post there. So just know that your unit covers everything that you need to do by week. So when Sunday close, everybody should be looking at Unit 2 because that's what's going to be required of you during the second week. And the same during Unit 3. So just note that your course starts on the 1st and it's going to end on the 23rd of August. So each week, your course is going to open up at 11:59 on, well, not your course, but for each unit, it's going to open up, it's going to close at 11:59, and then the next unit will open up at 11:59 during the same Sunday. So as one closes, the other will be opening up 1 minute after. So just be mindful of that. So you want to look at all your units. You can look at all your units ahead of time and see what's expected of you so that you can have it and you can have available information there. Okay, so once you go through all the units, each week you should be clicking on the unit so you'll know what's required. Under course tools, normally since this is an online course, we won't have Collaborate. So you won't have to worry about that. Supplemental material, you won't have to worry about that. StudyMate, you won't have to utilize StudyMate because I have you completing the quizzes to prepare you for your exams. So it's nothing you have to do there. This is a great course. Sometimes social work students ask me, why do I need to know about human sexuality? Well, sometimes we have parents who believe in incest, and so you should be able to talk about the impacts of that. It prepares you for parents who have issues with puberty. It might help you with parents with teen pregnancy. So this is why this course is particular. For some of you, you may be taking it as an elective, but it'll benefit you through the whole process, especially if you are already a parent. So basically, this is the gist of what you have to know with Blackboard. So I recommend that you go to the Getting Started page, look at everything that I provided for you in the Getting Started page. Check your Blackboard Messenger. Make sure you adhere and read all your announcements. When you get ready to submit your paper, you're going to submit it under the APA paper. All your discussions will be submitted under the discussion section. Your textbook in Mind Tap, you'll have access to that on the Getting Started page. And I will send an announcement out letting you know that it's there. Your tests and quizzes, when you click on that, that's going to open up where you're going to take all your quizzes for your study guides for the midterm and final exam there. And then, of course, your course outline. So this is going to give you an idea. This is going to assist you with being successful with this course. And if you have any questions, please write them down, and you can send it to me in an email, or you can call me and we can discuss further. Now, if you fail to actually go through the Getting Started page, you fail to uh, review the videos, then you may have problems with the course. So just make sure that you adhere to the videos. And I've had students in the past tell me that these recordings are helpful. You notice I didn't talk about any dates because the recording is so in depth that I wanted to leave that out. So when I teach this course again, I should be able to upload the same videos. That concludes this presentation about Blackboard.